Dear investors and partners of Genesis, welcome to the investor update for the month of December. So, in this update, we are going to cover the highlights of the year. Want to summarize what happened this year. 2021 has been a very exciting year, lots of ups and downs. Want to give an overview of the state of the market. Where is the market currently? So let's get started. Want to keep this update short and not go into too much of details. So highlights of the year, let's begin with that. So this year has been a roller coaster ride, right? We saw Bitcoin hit an all-time high of close to 68, $69,000, and then it had a 50% drop back in summer of this year, and it has kind of recovered, and then there was a drop again in November, and we are kind of in the sideways right now. The biggest highlights for the year is Coinbase going IPO. It's a very significant moment. It's a big win for the crypto industry as a whole because it just gives legitimacy to the industry. So the Coinbase IPO was huge. And then next, China banning the miners in the country. So that was also another big news and big impact it had on the Bitcoin mining space. And as we know, the way Bitcoin goes, the market moves. And in my personal opinion, I think China actually lost their leadership position. China was the leader in terms of the number of miners and the hashing power of miners it had in the world. And now USA is the number one mining in terms of number and in terms of hashing provider in the world. So US has kind of gained its number one status. And another big moment is the Bitcoin ETF that is launching October 2021. We now have regulatory framework in play, and that was a very successful launch. We've been talking about the Bitcoin ETF coming for the last 4 or 5 years, and finally that happened. So that is also another big win for the year for the crypto industry. Now, let's look at what are some of the drivers, right? At the beginning of the year, if you look at the graph over, we had roughly about 33 million users, wallet addresses in Bitcoin. Again, we are using the wallet addresses as a proxy, even though it's not a correlation to the number of users. It is directly proportional to the number of users on the platform. So we see that the number of wallet addresses on the Bitcoin network increased from about 33 million, and right now it crossed like roughly around 39, 40 million. So it's a 20% increase in the number of wallet addresses roughly, and that is also a win because these assets have value proportional to the number of users in the network. Even with this increase, we still have very low percentage of people, of population, of investors who are currently in the crypto space. And this is another chart that we look at. It's called entity adjusted NUPO, which essentially gives an indication of the number of people who are in profit in the ecosystem. It's not a direct correlation, but when you have red, it means it's capitulation. And then when it goes up, it goes from red to orange, in which case it's hope. But if it is coming the other way, right, when it comes from optimism down, it becomes fear. So on the way up, it's capitulation, hope, optimism, belief, and euphoria. And then on the way down, it's greed, denial, anxiety, fear. So that's how the market cycle happens in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And we saw throughout the year, it's kind of in between optimism, denial. We went from kind of the green segment, which is the belief denial area, back to the yellow, which is optimism and anxiety. So we've been kind of hovering about in that area. We do expect the market to hit euphoria in the next few months. And when that happens, we will most likely see a six-figure Bitcoin. And that is what has happened so far in this year. Now let's look at the state of the market. Where are we in the market as we are speaking? So as we know, Omicron fears has caused market sell-off, not just in the crypto market. It has affected the entire financial market, and also crypto has also suffered from it. And Bitcoin dropped from all-time high of about $67,000 to 47,000, and that happened roughly in about like 24, 48 hours when the news hit the market a couple of weeks ago. And we saw the overall market cap reduce from $3 trillion to about 2.4 trillion. So that is a lot of fear in the market, uncertainty around where the market is going to evolve. EU published a draft of crypto asset regulation. It's very comprehensive. It is much better thought out regulation than the US has put out. And this has been something that been talking about again for a while, that we need to have proper regulation, right? We should not be over-regulated or under-regulated. We need to have the right amount of regulation. And EU has taken the lead in terms of what it means to set up the regulation for the industry. And it's very pro-innovation, so it doesn't stifle innovation that's happening in the space. And at the same time, is protecting investors from some of the low-quality projects, scam projects, which we are seeing in the market. So that is happened recently. And the hash rate has recovered. If you look at back in May when when China banned Bitcoin miners, we saw the hashing rate drop, and now it has almost recovered to where it was before. And typically, when the hashing rate increases, the Bitcoin price also has a direct correlation, and it's a leading indicator. Hashing rate is a leading indicator. So the hashing rate hitting an all-time high, it's overall good for the entire industry. So this is something that I want to stress, is that we are seeing a supply squeeze. So many of you are already aware of the Bitcoin halving when the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. But this is something that we have not seen before, wherein which 90% of Bitcoin mined is not getting sold at all, right? So right now we have about 900 Bitcoin that is mined every day. Out of the 900 Bitcoin that is mined every day, we are seeing less than 80 or so, which is coming to the market. Why is that? Two main reasons, right? One is what is happening right now is that the miners have not been getting traditional financing so far. So if you look at a mining operation, it's typically a mom and pop kind of shop, and they just finance on their own. So because they are financing on their own, it's a very low margin business. The miners are forced to sell the Bitcoin to keep funding their operation, right? And it was very difficult until this year. Like now, if you consider even look at last year, miners were not able to get funding at all. And you look at this year, Cypher Mining, right? Fidelity and Morgan Stanley, they invested $400 million into it. You have plenty of other miners who are coming on that are getting financing. So what it means is that they don't have to sell their Bitcoin in order to finance their operation. And all of the Bitcoin that they are mining is just going into their balance sheet, right? So that is the first reason. The second reason is that a lot of these miners, they have been pre-sold. Companies like PayPal, Square, they are all going to these miners and saying, hey, like, any supply that you have, we're going to buy it from you for the next couple of years, right? So these miners, they are not selling into the market, it's directly going into the corporate balance sheet. So because of that, we are seeing a 90% reduction in Bitcoins being mined that is coming into the market. And this impact is very slow. Like now we are not seeing the impact in the market. You may be like, okay, if that is true, why aren't we seeing an impact in the price? And so, right, once you have the fundamental blocks, now you're seeing a lot more interesting applications that are launching. So that is an area where we are keeping an eye on and continue to invest in the space. The second area that we are excited about is decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs. It's a new way of thinking about and forming companies. We are reviewing different projects wherein which we can take some ownership in these DAOs. The third area that we are excited about is in the metaverse and gaming space, because gaming, it brings people into the ecosystem, right? A lot of gamers, they don't even know how the DeFi yield farming and other things work, but they understand how the gaming system works. And right now we have a lot of these play to earn games which have made it super easy for anyone to participate in the crypto ecosystem. And that is going to continue to evolve. And I've categorized metaverse and gaming together, even though they are two separate teams. There is some overlap between them. And as I mentioned, Theta is one of our big bets on the underlying platform for enabling content delivery for these metaverses. And we continue to look at other platforms that can enable the metaverse vision. Lastly, is NFTs finding wider adoption. So the technology of NFT is pretty fascinating. What we are seeing right now is almost toys. And if you think about how we own our data, how we monetize our data, all of that would be stored in the form of NFT. Tokenization of different assets would be in the form of NFT. And when I say things like, we're going to see crypto as the world's first quadrillion-dollar market, right? Quadrillion is 1,000 trillion. Right now, we are roughly, about 2.5 to $3 trillion. So it is a 500 or 400 times growth from here. That growth is going to come from tokenization of various assets, right? You can have a real estate and tokenize it. We are already seeing tokenization of stocks with Mirror Protocol, which is one of our investments. We are seeing fractional ownership of many different assets. All of that would be encapsulated in this NFT technology. So that is another theme that we are super excited about for the year. So with that, we come to the end of the update. Would love to get your feedback on what did you like about this update, and did it provide the information that you're looking for? And if you can get back to me with one thing that we can improve, right? How can I better help you get the information that you want? We want to be completely transparent with what we are doing in Genesis, and want to have these updates not only as a way to inform, but also to educate, because this technology is going to touch pretty much every single industry. And I'm super passionate about educating people around how we can bring this technology to whatever industry that you are involved in. Thank you. Wishing you a very, very happy holidays. Very Merry Christmas. Wishing you a Happy New Year 2022, and we'll see you in the new year. As always, if you have any questions, always feel free to email me or text me. Thank you.